What's up guys, Mitch from the DIYRecordingStudio.com, and in this week's Hold Your Gas, we have new interfaces from UAD and a little bit of controversy around a particular review to do with these units. Black Lion Audio have also released their own interface with a real interesting twist. Sennheiser finally have fixed a major problem with their MD421 microphones. Z&H Designs have unveiled some new upcoming equipment, and I've got not one, but two awesome free plugins at the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But that's enough from me, let's get into it. So UAD have relaunched their next generation of audio interfaces, and this has been met with some mixed opinions on their equipment. They're one of the more expensive interfaces because you buy into their system, but they've released these new interfaces with a bit of a new look, and most importantly, what they have updated is that you basically get SonarWorks for free with these interfaces, and it's integrated into the software, which in my opinion is actually quite a positive. It's a good thing to have. If you understand the market that Universal Audio are aiming for with these interfaces, they're like home studios and project studios more than the highest end of studios. So SonarWorks is really useful for people in that situation. They're not a bad add-on to the new interfaces. Apparently they've updated their headphone outputs and their overall A to D conversion. Now, this has some people skeptical because certain people don't like the conversion on UAD. I know people that don't, that's okay. Now, where the big controversy kind of started was in a particular review from a very popular YouTuber that I actually follow as well, Ed Thorne. Shout out to Ed Thorne, you do awesome content, mate. And it seems like you've been through a bit of a rough time with some of the comment sections. Some people in the comment sections on his video were upset about things like the fact that it's still using the same DSP chips. And I would agree with people in the comment sections a little bit about that. It is disappointing to be using outdated DSP processing when you're going to update an interface. I think that's a bit silly. Like, most people unanimously agree that a lot of people's computers now can handle the DSP. And whilst it is nice to offload DSP to an interface so that your computer is doing all the processing, the DSP thing isn't completely necessary anymore for most people, I would assume. Anyway, so lots of people were annoyed about that, but the unit uses Thunderbolt 3 and is Thunderbolt 4 compatible, which is good. And one of the other positives they did was they added auto gain. So similar to like the Evo interfaces and stuff like that, you now have, auto gain. The dynamic range has been increased. That's actually an incredible amount of dynamic range. How good that is always up for debate. Their mic inputs also have a huge dynamic range. And, they're all positives, really. Like, we can all sit and kind of nitpick at specs, but it's really on how you're going to use this interface as a tool. And, I think that plenty of people have shown that this is a decent tool for them. It's not my tool of choice. I wouldn't be buying an Apollo anytime soon, but if it's something that appeals to you, maybe you should take a look at it. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Are you guys interested in interfaces like the Apollo stuff and, signing up for that kind of ecosystem? Or are you someone that is less inclined to buy something like an Apollo or any other UAD interface? I'd be really interested to know what you guys think about this particular release because it has been somewhat controversial. Let me know in the comment sections down below. Next up, Black Lion Audio have also released their own new interface, and it's a 4-channel interface, but it's quite interesting because of this right here. They have transformer stages in the first 2 mic inputs of this interface. So let's take a quick look at it. 3 headphone outputs, which is really interesting. Got these mic inputs on the front and input gain and a bunch of other selections that you can have here on the front. You can also control channel 3 and 4 from the front if you need to as well. And then on the back, you have channel inputs as well. Over here, you have these channel inserts for sending and returning signal to other outboard gear. Now, this is an interesting piece of gear because it isn't your typical kind of interface. It only has the 4 inputs with inserts though, but then it also gives you some monitor outputs and some analog outputs, which could be really useful. And then it has the ADAT in and out over here as well. So the idea with this interface is kind of interesting. It's probably not for all home studios because you wouldn't be able to use just this interface for things like drums. There's only 4 inputs, but it does have that added expandability via ADAT if that's something that interests you. But if you're someone that's a singer-songwriter or you're recording music and drums and stuff that only need up to about 4 inputs, this could be a really interesting kind of setup for some people, because what you get is these inserts where you could just go straight to some outboard and back in and kind of permanently set this interface up to do what you want to do in tracking. And it has the benefit of these transformer stages to get that kind of really nice preamp tonality that you get from vintage preamps. Kind of a very cool take on a 4-channel interface. It's not cheap. It's about $1,200 US. So, you know, like that's not a cheap interface, especially by today's standards. What I do like to see in this interface is the fact that they've added that transformer, but then given you the option to add inserts to the preamp stage. So you can have your signal go to that transformer and then patch in, you know, some other outboard for compression and stuff like that. Whereas other interfaces that have come out recently that I looked at with transformers and stuff in them, like the Heritage Audio 2-channel interface and 4-channel interface, there's no inserts available on that. So you can't get compression after that preamp stage on that Heritage Audio interface. So basically all you can do on those interfaces is have that Neve preamp sound, have that go through either DSP compressors or just go clean into your processing and then process it later. Whereas on this interface, you can hit this preamp and these nice transformers, but then go to the inserts and have a compressor on one of these inserts and then process completely on the way in. And I do really like to see that on an interface. What would be cool is that if someone made an interface exactly like this, maybe just a 2-channel interface with 2 inserts so people can do exactly this kind of stuff for like home studios where people just want a simple signal chain. Very, very cool design choices from them. It's an interesting interface, but I'm not sure, 1, with the price tag, and 2, who would actually be interested in this one. So once again, sound off in the comment sections down below. Would you be interested in an interface like this? And what are your use cases for an interface like this? Are you just going to be recording minimal drum setups and then, you know, guitars, bass, vocals, stuff like that? Or are you just a singer-songwriter and this might appeal to you? I'd be really interested to know. In other news, Sennheiser have finally fixed the horrible microphone clip on the MD421 with the release of their new version of the MD421, the MD421 Kompakt. Now they've put it on a proper mic clip attachment now, which is excellent. So gone is the slippery fish. And they've made the body and the chassis, the external chassis, a bit shorter as well, which is great for things like when you mount these to drums, it'll get them out of the way of your cymbals a little more when you mount them to toms and things like that. And you can see in this picture here, they've made it about a third shorter. It's a good option. I don't think it's a bad thing that they've finally kind of rectified the clip issue for these. I think it's a great idea to make it a bit more compact. And the main sacrifice that they have here is that they've removed this filter. So there's no longer a high pass filter built into this like the original MD421. So you don't have that option anymore, but that makes sense as they've shortened the chassis design. So they've had to get rid of something. What I would be mostly interested in, does the smaller body of the microphone change the frequency response at all? So here's the frequency response diagram for this unit. This is the 421, like that lift from about 1K. You got that same kind of lift and response there. So let me know in the comment sections. What do you think about the new design of the MD421? Are you happy to see that horrible mic clip go? I know I am. They should have done it years ago. It's one of the worst mic clips ever designed. We all love to talk about the brilliance of German engineering. This is definitely not their finest moment in that original MD421 anyway. In other news, at a recent expo event in China, Z&H Designs have unveiled a bunch of new equipment that they are going to be launching in the near future. So they recently unveiled some new product ranges that are coming soon. We can see their 1178 that they've already shown, but then we have some other products like this Brit 47 tube mic pre. We can see behind this, there's another kind of mic pre design, a 2-channel mic pre or something here. They've got the HO8 over here, which is an 8-channel mic pre. They've got a VCA, which I'm assuming is going to be like a 160 VU, maybe. But it does say mastering compressor, so maybe it's something different. This will be really interesting. I'll be super keen to know what this compressor particularly is. Being a mastering compressor, maybe it's something completely different. They've also got a opto dual channel compressor down here, something like an LA3 type stereo compressor. They've got a tube compressor here, and then a bunch of other 500 series mic preamps, it looks like down here, these last three. So besides the range that they've shown before, like the HVC 250s, they've got a bunch of new gear on the way, and it looks really exciting that they're going to fill out that catalog. So keep an eye on Z&H Designs. I have their 500 series EQs at the moment. They're excellent. The quality of their gear is really, really excellent. So I'm very keen to see what they come out with these other products, what they're actually recreating, if it's a recreation of vintage gear, or if it's something new in some of these other takes of equipment as well. So what do you guys think? Are you keen for any of the other gear from Z&H Designs? Also, if you haven't already, check out my unboxing of the V560 graphic EQs from Z&H. They're excellent. I've got more coming on them real soon. As I mentioned at the top of this video, this week's plugins, we've got 2 free plugins. The first of which is a vocal tuning plugin from a company I actually hadn't heard of before, Auburn Sounds, the Graylon, which is, you know, an alternative to the Antares Auto Tune. So if you're someone that doesn't want to fork out hundreds of dollars for auto tune, maybe this is for you. So if you want some classic auto tune for your vocals, this is a much more affordable option. They do have a light version, which is free, and then the paid version is only $29. Like all free plugins, it's worth a try. It's got 3 different pitch engines in it for different types of tuning. There's a bunch of different options, and then in the paid version there's further options for the vocal processing. Definitely go check that one out. The second plugin, it's by a company called Quiet Music, and it's called Love-Fi 4 and the light version is here, and it is an excellent lo-fi synthesizer, and it does drums and bass and a bunch of other cool stuff, and we'll get into it right now. So I have a session in Cubase, and I'll show you some of the sounds that are available to it. Really awesome, dirty sounding, gritty sounding drums like this. Digging those. The bass, some great synthy, drony basses. Got that kind of classic Juno-y, like old kind of school sound. Got some beautiful kind of chord progression stuff there. Amazing different sounds available. And in the interface, it has like options for low and high pass cutoffs, some detuning and stuff. It has your typical ADSR and a synth, some modulation, chorus, reverb and distortion in there, and delay. And what's really cool is you can actually put this on top of other sounds and run it through this as well, similar to other plugins used in lo-fi. So you can use this as like a lo-fi kind of effect to add on to like guitars and drums as well. Excellent sounding plugin. Here's a quick look at something I produced earlier using only this plugin entirely. Yeah, you get the point. Awesome plugin, really versatile, super useful for drums, basses, any kind of synth sound. You could definitely create a lot of really cool lo-fi sounds using just that plugin, and like it would just be cool as an instrument in lots and lots of different sound sources. Really cool distortion sound there. Yeah, great filters, all that kind of stuff. So definitely go check out that plugin, especially because it's free. So that's all for this week's Hold Your Gasp. Let me know in the comment sections down below. Is there anything that you're super excited for that I mentioned this week? And also hit me up in those comment sections if you have any questions about anything else that I talk about on this channel. And as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Thanks again for stopping by. I'm Mitch from the DIYRecordingstudio.com. I'll catch you soon.